The Mountaineers are still in the running for one of America's very best high school quarterbacks, and it's because of Pat White.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host here. This is Locked On West Virginia, brought to you by FanDuel. Today's episode is going to be brought to you right by FanDuel, where customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. You have to go to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you guys for being here this evening. This is the danger zone for my internet, so hopefully all is well. If not, then we'll just have to live with it. I'm still waiting on them to completely fix it. I know that it's slower still. It's one of those things that's really frustrating to deal with, as you guys know. So hopefully the screen is clear enough for everybody to see me. But I've tried a bunch of different methods, and it seems like the earlier I go, the earlier I record, the better off I am. So let's get into this really quick. So Pat White, obviously fortunate enough to break the news that he was going to be hired by West Virginia. And what was interesting about that is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, Brody McWater, who had committed to West Virginia under Neal Brown, decommitted after the Brown firing. Understandable. That's something that you see pretty often. Obviously, you don't know who the new coach is going to be right away and that type of thing. He's class 2026, composite 4-star kid, one of the most talented in all of everywhere. I mean, you look at the list of offers he has, it's truly it's a who's who of college football head coaches. And let me just pull up his X page real quick and just read off some of the offers he has here and who he is in the pictures with, because it is insanity on another level, man. Like, you know, I've never seen a guy with this many pictures of head coaches before. You got a picture of him with obviously Kirby Smart. There's Bill Belichick. There's Deion Sanders. There's Coach Shanahan. Let's see. Coach Nuns from Syracuse is there, the quarterback's coach. You've got the guy from Mississippi State there. You've got Cignetti from Indiana. You've got Coach Guyton from the Wisconsin Badgers. A couple of meetings with him. You got another Kirby Smart. You got Rich Rodriguez. You've got I think I've made my point. Here he is with LSU quarterback coach. Here he is with an Oregon one. So point is, literally everybody wants this kid. And Neal Brown and staff had this kid locked up. That's just a fact. He was locked up. He was coming to West Virginia. And what happened? Well, Brown was fired, and we thought, well, it was nice while it lasted. Unfortunately, all these other offers came in, and you start to think, well, okay, that's done and over with. Well, not so fast. The hiring of Pat White goes viral, and this kid posts a picture of him and Pat White together. And look, he has been meeting with Rich Rod, and there have been things going on. So, and Auburn, Florida State, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, all involved with the kid, like I said. Coach Rodriguez obviously started hammering the recruiting trail. They posted a picture together on social media in January where he said he had talked to Coach Rod since he got to Morgantown a couple weeks later. Another photo, and this time it's Rodriguez had made the trek to Georgia to see him. And then over a week ago, that his final list of top schools in his recruitment process were coming soon. Not sure if West Virginia is going to be among those or not, but I think we got a good shot. I do think we have a good shot. I think it's West Virginia that he was in love with and not necessarily Pat White, according to people I've spoken to close to that situation. So what kind of player is he? Well, he's a dual threat. Live arm. I would say, let's say, okay, where would I rank this? Try to give a good example. Let's say Josh Allen is a 10 out of 10 arm strength. This kid right now is probably at a 6.5, close to maybe 7. He's got a really live arm, and it's going to get way stronger. He's very similar to Will Greer, in my opinion. The way his footwork is, the way he delivers the ball. It's that 3/4 arm slot baseball player kind of toss, but he's a pocket player first and foremost. But he rolls out, does a lot of boots and waggles, and is very mobile. He has several runs on film where he's pulls away from people. I would guesstimate him to be into that 4.6-ish range. And there's a reason Georgia, North Carolina, Oregon, Auburn, Florida State all want him. It's because he's elite. And tossing the ball is really where he shines. As the dual threat, I think, he adds that element and it would be there. But this would be a passing offense with that kid in it, in my opinion. Maybe not, year one, but definitely at some point he's that good of a thrower. So obviously Rich Rod is not going to turn down a highly rated kid like this. And as you've seen last year with Huff, even they really had a great passing attack at times. So it's not like they can't do it. It's just that he prefers to run the ball, at least historically. But I mean, if you've got a great passer, win in Rome, right? So I think this is an interesting development. I don't know how much to read into it. Obviously, this kid's, he's meeting with Belichick and Smart. So you have to think that we're at a small disadvantage, at the very least. But I think there's something about West Virginia. Like I said, he seems to be a fan of West Virginia history. West Virginia, there's got to be a connection somewhere that we don't know about yet. I would love to know the answer to that. I have spoken to some people close to that situation, but not him or his family, just people from the school. And I'm trying to find out if there's some kind of West Virginia connection within the family. Did somebody go to West Virginia that's in the family? Maybe that's already public knowledge and I just haven't looked into it. But I'm a big fan of him. I love his game. I think he's a super athlete. I think he would fit well within the Rich Rod offense. You can run the spread run attack with him if you really wanted to. I think he probably has to put on a tad bit of weight. You look at Brody, he's, like I said, 4-star in the 2026 class, so he's going to get to watch all these teams play this year. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. So, like I said, right about that Will Greer size, but he stands tall in the pocket. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He does a lot of things from within the pocket that I would consider to be advanced. This isn't a project you're bringing in here. This is a guy that's ready to start probably in your, if he redshirts, definitely the next year, and possibly could as a freshman. He's that already he's already that put together. Like, he's been worked with. Obviously, it's super obvious. He plays in one of the best football states, really one of the most underrated states in Georgia, at the highest level in Georgia. And we see what kind of people they breed in Georgia. So they're all really good. He loves to throw the ball from within the pocket. And I think it'll be super interesting to see what he would look like in the Rich Rod offense. But that's not all. I mean, like I said, they roll him left, and he's a right-handed guy, and they run him left, throw right all the time. So he's really gotten used to that pull and then running to the weak shoulder side and still having to throw it. So that's a weapon, because a lot of players don't come into college with that. A lot of players aren't comfortable running left, throwing right in college right away. Or in Nico's situation, running right, throwing left. I don't know about Nico's situation, but I just as the other example. So I really like McWhorter. I think he is advanced. I think he's the kind of player that if he gets everything out of himself, he's easily a mid-round draft pick in the second, third, fourth round. If he puts it all together, in my opinion, the physical tools are there. So the size is not elite, but it's, it hovers around 6'2" to 6'3". There are plenty of quarterbacks in the league that size these days. It's not the old days where you were Dan Marino, where you were kind of statuesque in the pocket. You were 6'6", so you could see over. No, these days you can move around and toss it around. So keep an eye on this one, guys. Absolutely going to be exciting to see what develops out of that situation, and we can only hope he still lands in Morgantown where he belongs. Up next on West Virginia, I almost started the show with this. Let's hope it didn't go away here. Okay, it didn't. My questions for Rich Rod and Zach Alley. They're having a press conference, guys. I don't know if you know this. Like I said, I almost led the show with it. Rich Rod and Zach Alley will be having a press conference on Thursday. That's going to be super cool. What would I ask them? What are my questions for Coach Alley and Rich Rod? Well, we'll talk about that next. Stick around, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip or you want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for the bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three. I really never feel like I miss my chance. And to be honest, the app is really easy to use, whether you win, lose, or draw, and you get paid instantly. Right now, new customers can bet $150 in bonus bets. That's what you'll get if you win that $5 bet. Your first $5 bet is where it's at. That's the key. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your one shot at $150 in bonus bets, and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. And we are back here on Locked On West Virginia. It's segment 2. We're cracking dues, right? We even got I'm stuttering. We even got my Mountain Dew hoodie on for those of you listening on podcast. It says my blood type, in case of emergency, my blood type is, and it's Mountain Dew, obviously. So it's segment 2. We crack a dew. Love this sweater. It was at the cleaners. That's my New York accent. It's like my Jewish accent. It was at the cleaners. Hey, Henry, can you get us some Manischewitz wine? All right. That was just my random brain, so just forgive me. Let's talk about something that I'm excited about. The press conference is coming, man, and I'm going to cover the out of this. My piss is going to be nuclear on Thursday when Rich Rod and Zach Alley get in front of the camera and Mike Ostie starts grilling them with questions and all these other guys. So I've written down a few questions for each guy. Let's go through a couple of my questions for Rich Rod. Coach, with NIL becoming a major factor in college football, how do you plan to balance building a competitive roster while ensuring your players benefit from NIL opportunities? You've had experience at various programs, and now with NIL in play, how have you adapted your recruiting and team building strategies at WVU to stay competitive in this new landscape? We heard that he had ideas coming in. What are these ideas and what have they been? In the past, you built explosive offenses. How are you planning to adjust your offensive strategies for the Big 12? And how does NIL factor into your recruiting and roster management? Given the increasing influence NFL-like structures in college football, I noticed that that's how you've structured your roster. Do you plan to implement any other NFL-inspired systems at WVU, especially in terms of player development and team management? Because I think there's more to it than just what they've done so far, which is, our pay structure, right? Like, if you don't know, the way that I understand, and I don't know the numbers, but Your starting left tackle makes 250K. Your backup makes 100K. His backup makes 50K. At your quarterback one, this is the pay range. If he's elite, maybe he moves the needle a little bit, but like there's going to be a structure with ranges up and down for each position based on how they play, how good they are, where you're at in your program. Like our offensive line, had it not went anywhere, would have been probably the highest paid in our in our program. So and it's still going to get a lot of money sent that way, but I think that probably switched to the defensive back room now. So just there are other structures you can use, like I said, from a management standpoint, and they do have the guy from Oklahoma that has come in and you'll have to forgive me, his name slips my mind off the top of my head, but he's come in and is basically like a de facto GM, and obviously as college football continues to evolve, particularly with the role of NIL and professional level management, how do you see the future of the sport impacting programs like WVU, especially with revenue share? Because I think revenue share obviously is going to be big for us. How are we going to stay there? How is he and Ren going to work together to keep us there? Because the 20 mil or whatever it's going to be is going to be very important so that we can stay competitive in the Big 12. If we're going to be competitive outside of that, we're still going to have to have NIL. I think a lot of people think it's just going to move to this kind of cap structure, but that doesn't include NIL. So teams are still going to have an advantage there. With quarterbacks being a key part of your system, how do you evaluate potential starters for your offense? Do you already have a clear starter, or is there a competition open this spring for the quarterback position? Because we've heard a lot about that this week. It's Nico's job. It's not Nico's job. Somebody ask him. Ask him what's going on in the quarterback room. I feel like he's already kind of answered that. Personally, I think it's open. I don't think there is a starter. I don't think there is anybody with an inherent advantage. Nobody knows the offense. Everybody's taking zero reps in the offense. So I think this is going to be an issue where the best guy is going to win. I don't think Rich Rod is beholden to any one player. I have said multiple times now, I don't know, maybe Jalen, or even Max turn out to be West Virginia guys in the end, and they decide like they love it here and want to be West Virginia guys, kind of like Garrett Green. Maybe they will, and I'll fall in love with somebody that does that. But I think we already know that Nico is that. And while I have my concerns about him as the starter, I don't doubt for 1 second that it would benefit us for him to be the guy. Like I said it already once before, from a national perspective, he's got the it factor. He's got that look that the media would look for in like a poster boy type player. He's got the personality to do it. And he's got morals and values, man. Like, everything I've heard about him has been great. And I am totally rooting for him to win the job, just so you know. But I'm not going to let that affect the overall, what I consider to be the main thing's got to be the main thing, and that's West Virginia winning football games. So that's just how I look at it. But like I said, one more time, I'll reiterate it. I do think Nico winning the job and being successful ultimately would benefit us so crazily great. Like it would be like a Will Greer type situation, or maybe a Geno type situation where there's like a lot of coverage. So you've coached some of the college football's most successful dual threat quarterbacks, including Pat White, Denard Robertson. What qualities do you look for in a quarterback to thrive in your offense, and who do you see? Do you see any players on your current roster who can step into that role? I think try to press him a little bit. Now, Zach Alley. These are my questions for Coach Alley. We're at that 20-minute mark, though. Let's go to break real quick, and we'll get into those questions real quick. Stick around, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. All right, no ad read. So these are my questions for Zach Alley. Coach Alley, many people might wonder why you'd leave a high-profile program like Oklahoma for a challenge at WVU. What motivated you to make the move to Morgantown, and what excites you about the potential hire here at West Virginia? You know, let's not forget that Zach Alley left a sitting SEC job to come to lowly West Virginia, like some people said. And that's in a year in which they improved at, better than 10 positions in a lot of places nationally. He was successful. It wasn't like he was bad. There's the obvious answer that he's not going to be able to say is Venable's job security was at risk, is going to be at risk coming up this year. And you don't want to be caught out, right? And no job and no upward trajectory, because that halts your trajectory. If Venables gets fired, then you have to kind of look for somewhere to land, and you're starting all over again. Here, you're starting fresh with a rich rod. And if it goes well, and he must think it's got a good shot to do that, you can really put yourself in a spot to get maybe the West Virginia job even. So super interesting to see. I think that's a fascinating. I would love to pick his brain on that, like privately, to see what his thoughts were on it, because we're not going to get we're probably going to get, maybe he's a very guy without a filter. That would be great for me and people like me that cover him. But I think we're probably going to get the cookie cutter version, right? You had great success coaching at places like Oklahoma, where defense was among the top in the country. How do you plan to translate that in experience to West Virginia's defense, and what are your goals in year one? I think that would be fun. WVU often plays the underdog role in the Big 12, but you've had success at similar schools, like Jack State. How do you plan to leverage WVU's unique qualities to build a defense that competes at the highest level? What about West Virginia-bred players? Your coaching journey has taken you from Boise State to Oklahoma, both schools with distinct cultures. What differences do you see at West Virginia, and how will you adjust your approach to fit the culture here? And then lastly, given your success at Jack State with Rich Rod, does that give you added confidence that you can succeed or even exceed those expectations at West Virginia with Rich Rodriguez? Those would be my questions for Zach Alley and Rich Rod if I had a say. So if you're watching out there, listen, we got a little over 300 people watching. If you could hit that like button, subscribe. That's on X and on YouTube. We got a little over 300 watching. So hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. Like the video, and thanks for joining, guys. I've got to jump into another video right now. The Locked On Big 12 squad records at 9. But thank you guys for being here. I love all of you. Pray for the people in West Virginia. My family's been underwater in Mingo County. And a lot of people lost a lot here the last few days. So please keep people in West Virginia in your prayers, as it's been a really rough weekend. So if you are a part of that, I'm here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you guys for making Locked On West Virginia your first listener, for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. Don't forget, guys, Locked On College Basketball is next. Make sure you check it out. They do a great job over there, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Have a great evening. This episode's over. I'm out of here. Crack-a-doo, baby. Crack-a-doo, crack-a-doo.